Hello and welcome to my guide. Today I'll be showing you exactly how to use the Ruby debugger in the terminal for Mac OS. Should be the exact same as working in the terminal for Windows command-wise, but if you're using an IDE, there should be some built-in debugger icons that you can utilize instead of typing in the command line. So why exactly to use a debugger? Let's say you have a program and something goes wrong, right? But you're not exactly sure where exactly it goes wrong. One possible method of trying to figure out where exactly it goes wrong would be editing your code and then printing to the console at every single point where you think it might go wrong. With a debugger, this is a lot easier because you're able to go ahead and see every single variable at every single step, as well as seeing exactly how many times loops execute and so on. It's a lot easier to understand the program flow as well as how exactly it executes the code. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and start. Let's go ahead and create a Ruby file. Let's call it debug2.rb because I tried recording this earlier and I forgot I messed up somewhere. But let's go ahead and title this debug2.rb. So in this code, let's go ahead and figure out what exactly we want to do. Let's say we want to compute the maximum for an array of integers, right? So we can go ahead and create our array. Okay. Let's say we have a maximum, right? So now we want to go for every number in the array, right? If max is and then at the very end, we want to go ahead and print out the max to the console, right? So let's go ahead and open up our terminal, right? Go ahead and navigate to whatever file directory you used to store your Ruby file. In my case, it's going to be Ruby programs, right? So I can go and print out the list of the Ruby programs I currently have, right? I can see that whatever I just created is in there. Make sure you save, right? And just to go ahead and run through the program once, just to kind of understand what's being printed out initially, right? I can just go ahead and type ruby debug2.rb, right? Obviously, this isn't the output that we want, right? Because we want to find the maximum inside the array we're given, right? So how exactly can we fix this? Like I mentioned earlier, one possible method could be inside every single step, we could edit this code and print out whatever maximum it is and whatever the number we're currently at is. However, by using a debugger, we can just go ahead and skip editing the code and be able to track the program flow directly through the terminal without even having to touch any of this. So I can go and demonstrate this by go ahead and opening up the debugger. It's going to be ruby-r and then debug and then whatever your file name is. So in my case, it would be debug2.rb, right? And just go ahead and edit it based on whatever you named your file that you're editing, right? So once you go ahead and do that, you should be able to come to the screen right here. how exactly do I know that we're in uh, the right program? I can go and see exactly what code I'm debugging. So just through the command L, right? It's going to print out whatever lines of code is contained within the first five, and every single L will represent the next five, right? So in this case, after I type L, it'll show me the first 5 lines of code. I'll type L again, it'll show me the next five, but it ends at 8, obviously. Okay, so after doing this, right, if we go back up here, this 1 represents what exactly line of code we're on, right? And then this represents whatever code is on that line. So let's say we just wanted to go ahead and run through every single line of code. At every step, we can just type n, and it'll go to the next line, and next line, and next line, and next line, right? In this case, actually, it doesn't go directly to the next line, but it kind of just goes through the program flow, right? So in this case, even though I typed n, since we're in a for loop, we're seeing this X amount of times because X is the number of elements inside nums, and we're checking every single element. So we're going to do it whatever the length of nums is, right? So in this case, we're going to be checking it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, right? So once we get through that, it'll bring us to the end, and it'll go ahead and bring us to the very last line of code, which is printing exactly what the max is to the console. So if I type n again, it'll print -1, right? So after this, we can go ahead and see, hey, we need to go ahead and check what the variables are at every single step within the for loop, right? We can go ahead and do this by go ahead and open up the debugger again, right? So debug2.rb, right? So I can go to the next line until I reach the for loop, right? To see exactly what the variables represent at every line of the code, right? I can just do a uh, display max. And let's say I also want to display the num as well, because I want to see exactly what element we're currently at, right? Right? Okay. So now we can go ahead and end, right? So in this first step of the loop, we see that num is 2, max is -1, right? So max is going to change it if we want it to compute the maximum, but it doesn't, right? And it won't keep on doing it because we can see right here that instead of it being the greater than sign, it should be the less than sign to always compute the maximum. So just like this, we can just go and see exactly what the variable is at every single step of the program, right? And once we reach the end, we get this. So let's go ahead and change our code. I will run it again, debug2.rb, right? And this looks right, right? So let's go ahead and check every single execution of the program, so that way we can see exactly at every step what exactly is happening inside our for loop, right? Debug2.rb, right? So and so I want to display max, display num, right? And right, -1, 2. As you can see, the max is changing whenever it is less than whatever element we are. So the 2 is going to turn into the 8, right? 8's a 3, no, because the 3 is less than the 8, right? And then it'll keep on proceeding as we go through until eventually we get that the max is equal to 14. Then it'll print it, right? So that gets the stepping portion out of the way. So let's say we want to go ahead and add breakpoints, right? These breakpoints will allow us to basically stop the execution of the program at that line, right? So just to make sure that everything before that line is correct. So to set breakpoints in the command line, we go ahead and do, let's go and open up the debugger again. R debug debug2.rb. Right, let's say we want to go ahead and set a breakpoint at line 5. Right, as you can see, we're going to set the first breakpoint at line 5. So if we go through, right, let's say we want to go ahead and display num display max and right, and so on. So this breakpoint is basically allowing us to kind of halt the execution of the program up until that point, so that way we can accurately judge what is happening without being distracted by everything that comes after it, right? So let's say we want to go ahead and delete that breakpoint. We can do this easily by using the command delete and then whatever the breakpoint number is. So in our case, if we scroll all the way back up here, we can see that the breakpoint number is 1. So all we would do is delete 1, right? And it's as easy as that. Debugging is extremely easy, and it's really useful in determining exactly what's going wrong with your program, as well as if you're a beginner, just understanding exactly how the program executes each line of code and like how many times, as well as just keeping track of what the variables are at every step of the every step of the program. Right. So in the description, I'm going to go ahead and link you to a couple of other Ruby commands for the debugger. I just didn't go over them because some of them are a little too advanced, and I just wanted to keep this as basic as possible so you could understand it. Right? So if you have any comments or questions, just go and leave them down there. All right, thank you. Bye-bye.